Yeah, now, stand and cheer for your Talking Basketball podcast. Welcome back to this episode. This is the second part of a doubleheader. If you haven't heard the first, go back and listen to it. If you can't be bothered, that's all right. Just keep listening to this one, and hopefully you enjoy it. And don't forget, like and subscribe. I hate it when people say that.
Now,
I don't want to be a champion.
no, hang on. I'm the champion of the BCB. You're the champion of the SLB. Someone over there is Georgia's champion of the NBL. We're all champions of and let's not forget, we haven't talked about the GBBL, right? And the GBL is just sat there. They haven't got a league at the moment. They've got nothing. They
ain't got nothing other than a piece of paper.
Haven't got a pot to piss in. They've got nothing. They've got
a BBF license for 15 years.
Yeah. Now,
or is it 9? I can't remember.
No, it's 15 years. Now, here's the thing. It's so fragmented. There is only one way you can solve it. And I am actually putting our names on the chopping block here. And I'm actually going to offer it out to everyone. I personally believe that there should be. I'm even going to quiet that down.
Oh.
I genuinely think.
Do we need like a drum roll or something?
No, I think. Well, I don't know about a drum roll. But we could do we could change it up a little bit, couldn't we? We could make it more like make it one of these sort of things, couldn't we?
That's a warning sound, Mark. That doesn't. That worries me. What you're about to say. What are you going to say?
So I think what we should have is a round table. I genuinely believe it. I genuinely believe all the teams in the SLB and all the proper stakeholders, not the people with the biggest mouth or the biggest voice or whatever. I want all of them. I want all of the teams in the BCB. I want representatives from each of the NBL divisions. I want someone from GBBL. And then if they dare, someone from the BBF. I want all of them in one room, and we will mediate that conversation, because I do not believe for 1 second any of them have sat down together as a whole. They talk rubbish. There's press releases, no press releases. People are talking, they're not. There's conversations. Look, even Donald Trump picked up the phone to someone who's going to fire a nuke at him, and he's a lunatic. You guys are not talking with together. You're just not. And you've all thrown the toys out the pram, and you all think you're going to do something. And who suffers? The fans, the players, GB basketball. Sermon over.
That was like a freaking trailer, Mark, for a film.
But it's true.
That was maybe the greatest bit.
It's my monologue
of wordage on the show of all time. You got to snip that little bit and keep it just as that.
No, I'm going to send it out there. I'm going to send it to every single team, every single player, and say, I'm calling you out. I genuinely believe.
If we get them at the table, can I do it? And now, stand and cheer.
You could enter. Every person can do that. Every person can get their own entrance and could stand up and do it. But I genuinely believe that, because look, I've gone through counselling. I've counselled people. I do coaching. I've sat there with people. Here's the reality. If you've got more than one party involved in something going wrong, and they're not sitting in the same room, nothing will change. It just won't. So instead of people sending emails, press releases, doing little talks and stuff, I don't want even an interview with any of these people individually. I want all of them to come in, and we'll sit there and we will be your mediators. We won't put it out live or anything like that, but we will sit there. We are offering our services to because we genuinely give a shit about basketball in the UK, because it sounds like some of you, although with the best will in the world, you seem to, what you've all of you have done is grenaded what basketball looks like internationally. And you've put so many people off who were starting to get into it. You've fragmented the leagues. There's 4 leagues in the UK. And the final thing I want to address is...
Sorry, 4 leagues?
So there's going to be 4 leagues. You'll have the NBL, you'll have the BCB, you'll have the SLB, and you'll have the GBBL. So next year...
yeah.
So 4 leagues. So
and also, I like the fragmentation. I like what you said, and it's definitely watered down BE. I think
Wasn't it nationwide, or was it Heineken or Budweiser? I can't remember. Was it the Budweiser League?
That was the old BBL, yeah.
Okay. Someone sponsored the whole league. When you went to Australia, Hungry Jacks sponsored the whole league. Even the SLB.
Great burger.
Credit to them.
Great milkshake. Chocolate milkshake.
SLB got the Biffa, a huge waste management company. They got them to sponsor the league. It's phenomenal. Now you've got four leagues potentially. Well, who's going to back it? Who's going to stream the shows? If the biggest money in any sports is TV rights and streaming rights. Anything, it cripples anything that teams can bring in by tickets, merch. It will throw it out the window. You know this from a local football team when they got promoted to the Premiership and their shows were their games were on the Premiership. How much money they got extra per game? It's a horrendous amount of money. We're not going to get into those TV rights because you've got 4 leagues. So from the external point of view, is DAZN going to
only look at the professional?
God. Wait,
and which one's that in a year's time?
Which one's the professional? Because are you telling me that the SLB teams, now that they don't have a license, they don't have a FIBA license, and next year they have no license to play FIBA, they can still play games and put games on? Of course they can, but essentially they are exhibition games because they do not count to a personal player's FIBA ranking status. Yeah? And that's important because if you're an overseas player or you're a professional player, your stats is effectively your CV, isn't it? So why the hell would you play in a league that isn't officially recognised by FIBA? You go somewhere else.
Well, we're going back to the professional topic now then. So what I will say is, don't think we've talked about it on the show, that the SLB organisation is suing the BBF.
Yep.
And that is... my understanding is for not having a fair tender process.
Do you know what? I'm going to say it.
Is that right?
Yep. And it sounds a bit like them going, wah. And I'm not being harsh.
What?
No.
Yeah, that's well harsh.
Yeah, but the reality is the BBF made a ridiculous tender process. Stupid. Why have you got to pay 25 grand? If they were the incumbent license holder, which they are, they should not have to pay. Anyone external should have to pay. They should get a free pitch.
So you agree with the SLB then?
No, I this is the only thing that I look at the BBF and went, they had a temporary license, and the reality is the temporary license is you have a temporary license for 3 years. My problem is that the BBF cancelled their license for the next 2 years. That's my problem. That is my real big issue with the BBF. You go, okay, everyone puts stuff out to tender. He goes, oh, you've been with O2 for 15 years. So what? If Vodafone came along and said, yeah, you can have 10 quid off, you go, all right, done. There's no loyalty in tenure anymore in terms of corporate or where the money comes from. There's no loyalty in that. They proved that they could hold that license. They proved that they could do something with it. But the BBF had concerns because 4 main teams essentially controlled the league. None of us disagree with that. That isn't right.
I do think the SLB didn't have a fair tender process. And it sounds like the BBF had made their mind up, and there was like,
yep.
Again, it
do you know
feels
why
like.
Do you know why they've done that?
Sorry, say again.
Do you know why they've done it?
Why? What? Why? Who've done what?
Why the BBF have done it?
Gone to GBBL.
Yeah. There's 2 obvious reasons.
Brown envelopes, Mark.
Sorry. Yeah.
Conjecture.
3 reasons. No. I'm going to tell it how it is, and I guarantee this is what's happened.
Wow.
Firstly, it's better to ask.
Someone said something about someone's mum.
No,
and they were like,
it's better to have forgiveness than permission. Better to have forgiveness and permission. They just went, oh, they've got a 3-year license. Well, why did they do the tender process at the end of the first year? In the beginning, like halfway through the first year, why would you set a tender process then? That's weird. So, secondly, like you were saying about brown envelopes, they had someone coming in who has, I won't say limitless money, but we are talking about the league that is worth 7 million. That's how much it was bought for and tendered for. It's not worth a lot in terms of money. All of these teams are worried about money themselves. There are people out there with hundreds and hundreds of millions. We're talking 5, 6, 7, 800 million. Not quite billionaires though, but still 500-600 million. People have this sort of money.
If you're one of those people, could you please be a patron on our show?
They could, but they could actually quite easily come in,
give us $1 million,
and say, Well, the part of the GBBL is they said that you have to guarantee 1.5 million a year. That's part of the thing. So if you look at 1.5 million a year for 15 years, that's how much they're guaranteeing. So they're looking at like 20 million.
Does anyone pay the BBF?
That's what. But that's
1.5 mil.
GBBL pay 1.5 million a year guaranteed to the BBF.
Some old guys who just go, your body endorsement. You know what? I'm
for a
on the
license.
SLB side saying, screw you, we'll just do our own thing.
Okay, so here's the thing, right? So
They have got the power, Mark. I genuinely believe
Of course they do. But listen, this is why. Because what are they doing? The BBF didn't give them the SLB the license because they said we don't like the fact that you've got 4 basically main teams. And we all know who they are because it's Caledonia, Newcastle, Leicester, Sheffield, and you do have Bristol in there as well floating around. But they're basically the 4, soon to be 5 teams that have a stadium.
Arena.
Yep. Everyone else just plays in the
Arena.
local park or whatever. But all of those teams, because they have an arena, there's a valuable asset, there's something associated to it. They also have really big communities behind it, as we know. They have really, really good. And look at Newcastle. You've had Tosson, who now went from the academy through the Eagles. He's playing in the NBA with the Nets at the moment, I believe. He's playing with Nets, Brooklyn. He's playing
Brooklyn, Mark. Jeez, come on. Get with it.
It was New Jersey Nets, and it's Brooklyn.
Get with it, Mark.
But still,
you're going back 10 years.
He's playing there. You know, that is the stories. We've just had another person go into, where was it now? They've just come in. They've just got traded in from the draft. Another UK player, I think from Nottingham, I really want to say. But the point is, all of these things should be celebrated, and they're not. And it's because somewhere the money line is broken. And I guarantee the plan from the BBF is simply, we've got someone who's got endless cash. So they could guarantee us spending for 2 years, 3 years, $1.5 million a year. That's less than 5 million. People spend more than that gambling in Vegas if they're that wealthy. And it's like, I'm not even joking. It's a genuine thing. Most of us can't fathom that kind of money. That is such a huge amount of money. If someone said 5 million, these guys could go, we'll guarantee it for 3 years. We'll just sit here and let all of them fight it out. And then what will happen? They'll grab someone like, we've just got TNT doing all the coverage. If you want to be part of our league, you can join it. And what the BBF is hoping is that all of the SLB teams, or maybe even the BCB teams, all of them combine and go into this GBBL as it is, because they can't live without it or whatever it is. And when that happens, they've got one entity at the top. That is the controlling entity. And then 20 teams, they've got a structured league. They've got guarantee of at least 1.5 million when all the others join in. So eventually it all rolls into one, because like you said, it's not a UK league if you haven't got those top teams. It's not.
No, and this is why I really like the point you just said about arenas. And this is why I think the SLB are in a strong position, is because let's just flip what you said. You're now in charge of the GBBL.
Oh, that'd be good.
Yeah, you're in charge of that.
Hire me, I'm good.
Okay, but your season starts in a year's time.
Yep.
What teams you got and where you're playing? You're not playing in arenas like what these guys are. You haven't got, the Eagle Nest.
Yep.
The Copper Box.
Yep.
I can't remember my nickname for the Gladiator one. What's that called?
I've no idea.
Can't remember. We haven't got nicknames for a while. But you know what I mean?
Haggisland.
The stables, they haven't got these places in their league unless these teams come in.
No.
And that's I think is the biggest problem for the GBBL coming in, is where are these teams going to play? They're going to play in venues that you see around the country where it's 500 home fans.
Now, let me.
Can I say one thing, because this is really important, and I'm not saying any information on where I've heard this from.
Okay.
The these bloody acronyms, man. This is why they should just combine together.
BCB.
The BCB.
Yep.
They have made a statement, yeah?
Yep.
And they're saying, look, we're going to create our own entity, and we're going to create our own league, our own entity, and it's a pyramid of one. We've potentially got 2 Scottish teams going to play in a trophy who might come in later. That's where they're at. Okay. We know nothing else.
No.
Because they're not there. That is why they're not there. When they have news to share, they're going to share it.
Yeah.
Now, I've thrown the idea around about, is this the second tier for the GBBL? Or is this the second tier for the SLB?
Yep.
There's no weight to that or fact whatsoever.
No.
They are doing this pyramid of one on their own. They are speaking to people. They are not even thinking about the other teams.
If you're a player now, and the reason I'm taking the NBL out of this, and that's divisions 1, 2, and 3, is because I would call that our domestic, like the grassroots leagues, so to speak, and you build up to. That's what it always was. Now this BCB, at the moment, if you look at it, you've got an SLB, a BCB, and then the NBL teams. It's a bit like that's a football acronym.
You need to get a bloody piece of paper of all the acronyms before you even have a meeting.
Yeah, but this is what I mean. So at the moment, the SLB is the word that's out, and the GBBL is in. So the GBBL, or in brackets the SLB, are effectively the Premiership, if we're talking football terms. Now this new league is going to be effectively the Championship.
Well, no, it's not.
No, but this is what I'm saying. This is what I'm saying.
That's what these guys are saying.
This is what they're saying in terms of the level of basketball.
Oh,
So,
as far as level ability, it's your semi-professional before you go pro. Yes, I would agree with that. But there's no association between any entity in this league.
Exactly. So what the BCB have done effectively is rightly thrown their toys out the pram because they've gone, we're sick of this dude. He's gone now, but too late. They've already set this thing up. Now, maybe Nigel Walker, OBE, is going to come back and he's going to say to these guys and girls, should I say, this BCB, has it started yet? No, don't worry about it. If you set it up, don't worry about it.
Don't worry about it.
Why don't we, or he might say, absolutely set it up, but be the top tier of the NBL. So you have NBL, 3, 2, 1, and then the Championship.
But I think they want to get away from the organisation brick walls that they've been hitting.
But the brick walls have gone because a certain person who was the main brick wall is gone. He literally is gone. And for the last 9 years, they've been fighting him, and he's now gone. If you go back to our discussions,
you know what? I think it probably goes a bit deeper than just Colette, myself.
Oh yeah, of course it does.
You know, it's been reported that he was a strong blocker for this, but the wording I'm using here is mismanagement of relationships with the clubs.
Yep.
That's bigger than one guy.
If anyone wants to hire me and come in and do some consulting, I'm more than happy to, because obviously I'm for hire, aren't we all? But literally, they need to have I'm not going to say an Elon, let's just throw the kitchen sink out.
I think they need a Putin moment.
Oh God,
like,
no.
do it. Sign this piece of paper now.
They do need to have something pretty dramatic happen, because at the moment, as of October, was it October, should we say, that's when the league starts? October?
Yeah. Summer last week in September.
So,
but yeah, usually October.
So that's when it starts, which means teams have to get kits, which we know in the UK takes like 25 months. But kits would, if teams are trying to do your trials and everything like that, they're starting now, aren't they?
Or they're already done. They're now already
That's
done.
what I mean. So they're doing these trials. So even if they're doing these leagues and saying, hey, you want to come here, hey, you want to come there, that's fine. But all everyone's talking about at the moment is basically taking everyone who's available now and saying, right, we'll all go off and do our own thing. It's like being at a party, then someone saying, right, we're all going to play that game and we're going to go and drink over there and we're going to do this. You go, all right. If you're a fan and you're not local to that one specific team, no one's going to care.
Exactly. And
So suddenly,
that is the best point you've
so
just made
suddenly, if
it's so watered down, and there's 3
Milton Keynes, great. You've got 400 supporters. Good. Well done. That's all you're going to have. No one else is going to care. You're not going to grow. And then if you want to get sponsorship, who's going to sponsor you? Well, you're going to still have your local thing. You're going to still have your local Milton Keynes people who you can get sponsorship. Great, that's fantastic. But you will not
I will
elevate
say
to
Milton
anything.
Keynes have got
They will not
a
elevate.
fantastic blueprint for every other club in Britain wanting to see how it's done.
Okay.
They have got so many
Hi, I'm Milton Keynes. I've just set up a new league. Do you want to sponsor me? What do you win? Oh, we win the BCB championship. Okay, how long has that been going? Oh, we've just started it. Oh, you're one of the founders? Yeah. Nah, you're right, thanks. There is no value. You remember when, if you go back to the episode, your words when we were talking about the NBA Cup, as we rightly called it, at the time it was the NBA in-season tournament, yeah? And everyone said, even LeBron at the beginning, ironically, it's not worth anything because it's never been, there's no history, there's no legacy to it. Or ironically, then the Lakers win it and he's like, it's a really important thing, you know. But the whole point is...
But I think, isn't that the point you're making?
No, everything
With
has to start
the
somewhere.
BCB, it becomes more valuable when there's history.
Yeah, but it's...
But Mark, you've also got the best semi-professional teams in the country. That's got value in it straight away.
Yeah, but they're semi-professional teams and they're going to be vying.
Who were playing against professional.
Yeah,
Some
they
of them were
were.
playing professional teams.
Yeah, they were. So, but they've also categorically said, oh, we're not eating the lunch from the SLB. Of course you are. They're 100% you're going to get players transfer across. 100%, because next year the SLB don't have any license, but the NBL and the BCB are fully backed by the BBF. So this BCB, this new BCB, has a license from the BBF to operate. So all of the games are registered through FIBA
So
and
if
stuff.
you're a player, would it be
But the
better
SLB
to go
doesn't.
into the BCB?
Yeah, because your stats and all your things and they're registered games, you're an active player.
Well,
So, but and you know they've said, oh, we're not attacking the SLB. You're like, you kind of have literally done the same model as the as the SLB.
well, there's in a year's
I'm not-
time,
I'm
you're
not saying
going to
there's
have 3 leagues that are a pyramid of one. That's
Well,
what
no.
I don't like.
As of October,
No, not this year. GBBL doesn't start until 26, 27.
doesn't start, but it will be. Is still
No,
a
but what I
recognised
mean, we
league.
don't even know. They haven't even got a single team in it. They haven't got a single team. But you did say something, and it is where I hope the game goes. And it's kind of a little bit inspired by the BCB, where they're trying to get the Scottish clubs, and the SLB with Caledonia. And we've talked about, the expansion of that professional league to include other teams like Edinburgh and Birmingham and all that.
Yep.
I think what would be amazing out of all this drama is you get one league at the top, whatever that is.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah? Let's call it the Premier. I don't know.
Yep.
And you get all those SLB teams in it.
Yep.
Now, I'm going to say underneath that, you will get the championship.
Yep.
Championship teams can get promoted to the top Premier League.
Yep.
If they fulfill a certain criteria
Mm-hmm.
of an arena.
Yep.
So, and this is where we know those SLB clubs, professional clubs, are so protective over. Look, Caledonia
Their
just had a
assets.
dreadful season.
Their
They then
assets.
get relegated to the championship. That's like a big deal for them. Okay, well, let's say, and this is my thought.
I don't think it is.
Let's say you cannot get relegated currently from the SLB because there's 9 teams.
No, don't agree.
But the next team comes up, so you have 10 teams.
Yep.
The next team comes up, you have 12 teams. Next team comes up, okay, you now have got 14 teams. When you get, say, 20 teams or a certain number of teams in that division,
Yep.
that lowest one can get relegated into the championship if the one that's coming up has...
But who's in the championship then? If you've pulled all those
That's
other
what
teams.
I'm saying. These BCB clubs will probably be there,
Yeah.
around there.
But
If
you're putting
they've got
one,
a criteria of like a 5,000 seater arena, you want them in that top
Okay.
league, don't you?
Yeah.
If you've got 500 people your home thing. Okay, you're not going to go get promoted in that top league in Caledonia with their stadium.
So we got 9
arena comes down.
There's that Premiership.
But then what I'm saying is, after the Championship, you then got your National League team. 1, 2, 3. So, for example, me and you can start a team in our local town, and we can go all the way up and play in that top division. That is that British league structure that everyone's used to. At the moment, you're just going, oh, I'm going to support Portsmouth. Someone else is going, oh, I'm going to support Brighton. Oh, I'm going to support Edinburgh. And everyone's doing their own thing because it's so watered down. Like we said, there's 3 leagues of a pyramid of 1. There's 3 single pyramids.
I agree. And that is why I blame every single person who's involved in it, because all of you...
What about you?
No.
Are you to blame as well?
No, I'm right.
You're to blame as Mark.
I'm right.
Everyone's to blame. You're to blame as well.
I am right. They are all cool. And look, I'm not saying that teams aren't doing things for the right reasons. I'm not saying teams aren't doing things that are justified to protect themselves and their fans and the club. I'm not saying that's that. But they're still part of the problem. They're all culpable. And they all continue to make mistakes by not communicating, not telling people what's going on. And the only way this is going to get resolved so people have clarity is if they have some sort of round table, they have some sort of where they can all thrash it out. And at the end of the day, it's a case of there has to be a clear way for it. And I genuinely think someone from FIBA should be there, because in that sort of scenario, they have trusted that the BBF is going to make the right decisions for the UK basketball. And Basketball England was under BBF and all the other ones, etc., etc. Clearly, there's a lot of money swirling around and no one seems to be able to account for it, because I can't see where the money goes. So, where does all that money go? Where do all the subs money go? Where do all the costs for the coaching clubs go? Where does all the money gets injected through? Where has the Olympic money that's just come in? Where does that go? Because if you say, oh, it's funding athletes, funding these things, somewhere down the line it doesn't make sense. So personally, I think it would be I would just want to see it all just resolved and go away.
Yeah,
to be honest.
That's the structure. I think
if you have your kid now,
entity all the way down.
If you have a kid now that is 9-10 years old, and they get into that age where they could maybe go into their under 10s, under 12s, and they want to start their basketball journey, and they go to the local club and they say, there's the top team. Let's call it. Let's pick on Chelsea, for example. I don't know. Chelsea will have a team, the main team in Premiership. They also have a youth team, which is a very highly regarded training centre. They will also have separate teams and outreach and things and all stuff associated with that. Every club, Division 1, Championships, whatever it is, in football, they all have that. Look at the basketball teams that do well. Some teams that win, like shout out to Portsmouth Force, they won Basketball Community of the Year from BB.
National.
That was
National.
Fantastic.
Basketball Club, yeah.
We'll give them a shout out for that.
Yeah. But you're right. The teams that are not successful, the teams that have got financials flowing, have good youth setups.
They have good youth setups. And the community, they do not only do outreach, but they do send courses. They do things for wheelchair basketball, men's and women's teams across all the age groups. And if you looked at that and said BE are sponsoring that and putting that money in there, you'd go, yeah, that makes sense. That's where BE's money's going with all of these pathways.
I will also, with all of those clubs, you have to consider that National League is a cost.
Yeah,
I'm going to finish with this. Like National League basketball is a cost.
Yep.
If you take your local leagues, CVLs and stuff like that, recreational basketball leagues, games, whatever you want to call it, and just did that, you would make a nice living with those communities.
Oh,
as soon as you go to National League, it is just a drain on your finances.
Without sponsorship, I think it's fair to say, we had Solent Kestrels, we've had a few people talking about it. We don't go into the finance aspect, but it's very clear that Kestrel Guards were putting in a lot of money to Solent Kestrels, for example, when they won it 4 times they won Division 1?
4 times back to back.
Yeah, and the reason that they got frustrated is because they weren't allowed into the SLB. And why is that? Because as you said, it was like, well, the arena has to seat this. You have to have that finance.
Should I say this or not?
You don't have to say it because you don't want to put anyone culpable. But the reality is, money is always.
But I've just got a good example of where BE is a bit rubbish.
Do it.
So, for example, where like the Solent Casuals won D2.
Yep.
So they couldn't go, and the playoffs.
Yep.
And they can go to D1.
Yep.
But then they decided not to go to D1 and stay in D2 for whatever reason.
Yep.
Again, if I was BE, I'd be like, no, we want a serious league. We're not letting you pick what league. I'd be like, you're going in D1 or you're going in D3 conference.
Yep.
You pick which one. If you just want to win stuff, D3 conference, you work your way back up, and we'll go back. We'll recycle that. That is where I think BE slip up. They need to be firm. Another good example.
But that's because BE is only related to the NBL, and that's what you're talking about.
Yeah,
this BCB won't be attached.
But this is where these teams get frustrated. So, for example, you had the Bristol Hurricanes, where they played an illegal player.
Yeah.
Okay, so some action happened on the player. The team, nothing happened to the team.
Yep.
Well, isn't that harsh?
Well, yeah, of course.
Again, this is where BE need to, I don't know, do something.
Yeah, well, there's a lot of money floating around there, I'm sure.
I could say loads of these kind of things.
I imagine.
And we can go on. It's like, well, you know what?
We had a...
There's no way a team's going to win the championship and go with an illegal player and go, yeah, there's not going to be some kind of repercussion, or win the championship, go, we're going to stay here. It would like...
I guarantee the money that comes into the BBF...
It devalues that, and that's what's happening. The leagues are being devalued.
Oh, and that's the irony. The irony is all the SLB teams who, and this is the point, I agree with you with this, and I feel sorry for them. They are the ones who ultimately have put the most money into this league because they've invested millions in having these massive arenas. They're the ones who have put significant amount of money up front into these leagues. To have that just pulled away from them, you go, that's insane. If they'd have said, right, you can carry on playing the next 2 years, and then you and GBBL can figure out a licensed way of doing it, I'm sure that would work. But the fact they've said, as of now, you've got no thing. At the moment in the UK, as of October, when the league, there is no top tier league.
I'm going to be considering the SLB as the top league.
No. Under if you go look at
FIBA, but everyone in the UK is going to be going, SLB is the top league.
Are they going to be, though? Because are all the players going to stay there? Are all the people going to be around? I don't think they will. You say they will, but we've already seen London Lions disappear. Loads of people have gone. We've already seen loads of other things go. So I really don't think that's going to be the case. Lots and lots of players are either gone, retired. They already moved overseas last year when we lost a lot of players last year.
SLB's top league, Mark.
I
It'll be interesting when the GBBL kicks off. That's when it'll be like. I generally think they're all going to come together.
SLB.
There's lots of personalities and all that jazz.
Yeah, and at the end of the day, it's someone else has invested a load of money. MK and all those teams who are doing this BCB, I totally understand why they've left the NBL. But the reality is, what have you invested in terms of arenas or dedicated places and stuff like that? That's the only thing it always comes back to in the UK. There are no places for that. So here's something for you, just to think about. And this is what I've got really angry about. The GBBL, this new licensee, they are allowed to do a new league as of 2026 going forward. They said we'll have 10 teams and we'll guarantee we'll pay this. Theoretically, they could put 10 rubbish teams, just made up teams in sports gyms. Here's your $1 million and fulfill their agreement. Yeah. And they could do that. And they could be 10 teams from people from Division 3 or Division 4 or what it used to be and say, hey, you're a local team. We fancy building you up and making you something out of nothing. Oh, do you think those teams wouldn't go, oh, yeah, we'll take it?
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, we'll do it.
Of course we will. Well, you're going to get to be on telly. We'll even give you some sponsorship. You'd have to pay for kits.
I'm convinced by that.
No.
Yeah.
But if they even did that, if they came down to the South Coast and went, we need another South Coast. Hey, Plymouth, do you fancy going into the inaugural GBBL league? They'll be like, what? Yeah, you can come back into top flight basketball. You'll be shown on TV because the SLB won't.
Again, I'm not convinced by that.
But the SLB won't have they haven't got a license for it. Because they haven't got a license for it, people like DAZN and stuff like that, they're going to be like, well, you've lost your license.
It'll all be streamed on YouTube. That's what. Worst case.
Yeah, but who's going to watch it? Only the...
I am Mark!
No, the people down the road. That's it. No one else cares. No one else cares because they've devalued the league. So the whole thing that everyone was trying to avoid, they've just devalued it. And it's because the BBF have tried to take the power away from the SLB people who had the money into it. And because they weren't happy with that, they've now lost everything. So you go, wow. But they're all to blame. And look, we'd love to talk to you. We'd love to help you all.
Hey, anyone who wants to defend yourself, if we said something wrong,
Guilty.
You know, correct us.
Guilty.
By all means, come. UK Basketball Podcast at gmail.com.
Guilty.
And correct us.
Correct us.
But this is
right.
huge. Like, I wasn't sure basketball in the UK could be devalued as much as it is. And then this BCB has happened. And basketball England has just been massively devalued. They're the biggest loser here.
Congratulations on successfully ruining lots of people's hopes and careers. Because what you've done just now isn't just, it's a blip for this year. All of this nonsense that's happened this year.
Who are you talking about? The BCB?
BBF.
Oh, the BBF you're talking about. I think the BCB...
No.
They're on the fringe of potentially, if they're going to do some kind of commercialization, it's like...
The BCB are doing their own thing. They're doing another SLB scenario. I understand why all of them are doing it. I get it. The NBL, they're lower division teams and they're lower...
The BBF, that's the empire, isn't it? That's the emperor.
Chris Grant
at
the BBF and all the people before him. And
do it.
Do you know what? I'm going to say the words Nico Harrison. That's what's coming to mind.
Wow.
And he's not a beloved person. And I think he's done something. He's done dirty to the SLB. I think he's confused a lot of people in the public.
Wow.
And
allegedly.
No, not allegedly. He's done it. That's what's happened. And I think it's sad.
Slammed.
I think
Mark.
I think the reality is that money has won over in this instance because someone's obviously promised, we'll give you money, we'll do this, we'll guarantee it. And don't worry because all of them will fall under us because they have no choice. And that is the scenario that they are waiting for it to come out.
I think the biggest winners, who are the biggest winners in all of this? I think maybe the GBBL, that there's this separate...
They literally,
pyramid.
the people who back them have hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of millions. They can afford...
But if they got hundreds and hundreds, why are they saying they're only going to give you 15 million?
Because that's all they asked for. No, it's a 15-year license
oh, sorry, I see.
It's a 15-year license, and they said you have.
But they're only giving each club $1 million a year. Is that what you said?
No, the GBBL had to guarantee the BBF, the governing body, they'll give them 1.5 million a year, so that the license cost a year.
Oh, I thought you said they were giving $1 million to the teams.
No.
Oh, that's what I thought you said.
That's what the BBF are getting. So the BBF get the money. And they're guaranteed 1.5 million. Now, can the 9 teams in the current SLB, could they afford to give the BBL that?
15 million. Do it.
No, it's not 15
million. If anyone wants to know why I'm saying do it, that's what the Emperor said.
No, because those 9 teams would have to split the 1.5 million license cost. So that's effectively 200,000 each team would have to play. Newcastle, yeah, they could probably pay that license. Leicester, Sheffield, yeah, they probably could. Bristol definitely could. London Lions, yeah, they could. Could Surrey pay 200,000 to be in a league?
Yes.
Yeah, could Cheshire? No, I don't. They couldn't.
Skylar White, re-sign him, Mark. He's not worried. He's back in the SLB next year.
Yeah, good for him.
Right.
You're in a league that's...
Mark, I was really impressed with your dialogue with that thing. Can I have that sound for something?
Can I have my sound? Do you know what the sound's from?
Yeah.
That sound, ladies and gentlemen, I used for my masters.
Wow. Can I have it?
You can
go on, press it. I want to do something.
You want to do something?
Yeah.
Oh God. Okay. Right. Hang on. Let me mute that one, and then I'll put this one on.
This summer, Mark Chester.
Oh, that really?
Bounces a ball. Shoots a free throw, and he airballs it. Not once.
That's not just this summer.
Not twice, but 14,000 times. There you go. That was a good little thing you did, Mark. Right. We're done.
Well, we are done. Thank you so much for listening to this moaning rant about the state of the UK
That was
basketball.
you moaning.
Hey, it wasn't me.
It
They
was.
can bring it on. Bring it all on, fellas. Bring it on. Thanks for listening. I've been Mark.
I have been Paul, and the basketball landscape in Great Britain is confusing ever. Is it the SLB? Is it the GBBL? Is it the BCB? Is it the BBF? Is it BE? Is it BC? Is it BW? Is it BNI? Or is it NBL Div 1, NBL Div 2, NBL Div 3, NBL Div 4 conference? Mark, what's going on?
I bet badminton doesn't have this problem.